What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. So in today's video we are going to go over how you can modify your R35 GTR and make some stupid power for $5,000. I've owned this car almost for 5 years now, and one of the most common questions I've got over the years is how much does it cost to modify, and people are under the assumption that it costs an absolute fortune to modify a GTR. However, after doing so many parts on this car over the years and building it up to around a 700 horsepower car, it is not that expensive. It's probably a lot cheaper than you think. So with that said, let's get right into it with the first modification, which I think you're going to need for your GTR, a Cobb tuner. This has been such a great little tool to tune the car. This is a $1,200 little computer, and it can tune the ECU as well as the TCM, so engine and transmission. So this $1,200 unit really opens up the entire world of modifications for this car. I think it is a must-have. You can even run the off-the-shelf maps, stage 1 and stage 2, which I did run on this car for a little bit when I first got into tuning, and while so many people give the off-the-shelf maps some crap, honestly, I was really impressed. It really does open up the car. It's easy to do. It comes on the tuner. It's just super basic just to get the car set up right. You're also able to make transmission adjustments to adjust how the clutches work, the actual tuning of the transmission you can update. If you have an early generation R35, the issues with those cars is actually the transmission software. So tuning the transmission fixes all those issues that the old cars have. So first and foremost, $1,200, get you a Cobb AccessPort. With that said, some of the tunes may cost you money. However, depends on where you buy the tuner, who you know. I've been working with AAM competition since like, I don't even know, 2016 or so, back when I had my first 370Z. So I've been working with them a lot, and they did free tuning for this car just because I bought all my mods from them. So you can get free tuning and even just run the off-the-shelf maps, and then when you get to stage 3, that's when you can pay for a tune if you can't get anything free. So anyways, $1,200, get this thing tuned and get the Cobb, and you can update your tunes as you go. Number 2 on the list is going to be get yourself a set of 3-inch air intakes. You can see them right here. They go all the way back to the turbos. Of course, there is one on each side of the car. These are going to run you around $600. Now, you can buy 2.75-inch air intakes. There's no tuning required on them. They are just basic upgraded intakes. You're going to get the turbo sounds and things like that. However, 3-inch air intakes, you will need to tune your car. However, we've already talked about the Cobb AccessPort, so you're good to go. With those 3-inch air intakes, of course, you get the better turbo sounds, but with the tuning on the car and those 3-inch air intakes, you've now added some significant power, maybe like 40 or 50 horsepower, and the car truly does open up. Super inexpensive already. We're now at $1,800, and that is just a great way to upgrade the car. On top of that, number 3 on the list is going to be a midpipe. A midpipe is going to cost around $700. Now, I will have linked below these 3-inch air intakes as well as an awesome midpipe you can get for the GTR. $700 for a midpipe is a pretty good deal. The midpipe in the car stock has 2 catalytic converters as well as a muffler. There's no sensors in there or anything like that, so you can delete it with just a straight up midpipe or even do a resonated midpipe or whatever you'd like, and you're not going to get any check engine lights because there's no sensors in those cats. And it really frees up the exhaust system because that takes out so many restrictions, and it actually makes the car sound good. If you have stock downpipes and a stock muffler section, an upgraded midpipe makes this car actually sound like a performance car. The stock GTR sound kind of like a lawnmower or a vacuum cleaner, so with a midpipe it sounds good, and that gets you up to a stage 2 setup. If you run the Cobb off-the-shelf stage 2 tune with a 3-inch air intake as well as that midpipe, you are going to love the car. It so opens it up so much. That setup is probably going to be around a 75 horsepower upgrade from the stock configuration, and it truly wakes up the car. Like night and day difference. That is an awesome setup. So that setup right there is kind of your stage 2 setup, like I mentioned, for a GTR. Really good conservative setup if you don't want to go crazy, don't want to worry about passing emissions or anything too extensive as far as the modification installation. But that stage 2 setup is a great way to go. On to number 4, which is going to be a set of downpipes. So now we are talking about highly modifying the car to where it is way different than the stage 2. So the downpipes are the first portion of the exhaust. You're not going to be able to see them, but they bolt directly to the turbochargers that are on each side of the engine, and that is the first part of the exhaust system. They're kind of located right here. Then the midpipe is there, and then from here back is your muffler section. But if you go downpipes, now you are at a full catless setup, and you can run a new tune to really upgrade the power. Downpipes, I'll have them linked down below. They're around a little over $1,000. Not too bad for a set of catless downpipes, and it truly opens up the sound. This thing will now completely scream and sound like the GTRs we all know and love all across the internet. Now, installing downpipes is a rather extensive upgrade. I did it myself. I used a shop's bay to do it with a car lift. I don't know how much a shop would actually charge you. However, when you get this thing up on the lift, you're able to take the drive shaft out and then get the stock system out, put the new ones in. It's a decently easy job. However, it certainly takes some skill, and you gotta be careful because you don't want to snap any studs that are in the turbos. But once you install downpipes, the car opens up and it really gets you to that next level. On top of downpipes, at this moment now with the tuning you're gonna have, you're kind of maxing out the fuel system. This is kind of where you get to that limit of you can only push so much fuel into the car. You're getting plenty of air, plenty of exhaust flow. However, your fueling is now gonna start being your issue. Not to say you're gonna have an issue. You know, I ran stock fuel system with this setup for a little bit. If you have the proper tuning, it'll be perfectly fine. However, you can capitalize on having that full exhaust and bigger intakes by upgrading the fuel system, which leads me to our last two modifications: fuel injectors and fuel pumps. Now, the fuel pumps in the GTR are located underneath the passenger rear seat. It's actually a pretty simple installation. I did it myself. You have to stick your hands in your gas tank of the car, get the whole system out, take it all apart, and swap pumps. Those are only $300 for the AEM fuel pumps. It's a pack of 2, and that gives you the power to actually get that fuel into the engine. With that said, you need bigger fuel injectors. Now, I went with Injector Dynamics 1050cc injectors. They were $850, and installing that was a pretty interesting install. You have to take the entire intake manifold off, and you basically see the top of your engine. The entire fuel rail system has to pop off. All the injectors, of course, come out and you replace them. But now with those upgraded pumps and fuel injectors, you can actually push all the fuel you need into the engine, safely do it. You're not gonna be burning out pumps or anything like that, and really optimize the fuel and air ratio to get all the power out of the car. So technically at this stage, you're at a full stage 3 full bolt-ons car, making around 600 horsepower to the wheels. And while that might not sound like the 1,000 horsepower cars you hear about on the internet, this thing with 600 of the wheels is insane. Even stock, they're pretty darn quick. Once you get to stage 2, they're fast, but the stage 3 setup with the full bolt-ons, like we've mentioned with all these mods, this car is crazy fast. You will hit 120 without thinking, and it's honestly more power than you even need on the roads. It's a fantastic setup. Now, of course, from this setup, you can further upgrade things. Of course, you're gonna get now well over $5,000. You can upgrade the intercooler system to really keep the air intake temps down. You can get upgraded recirc valves to hold the boost at the best of its ability. And of course, do a full axle back section, active muffler to have that straight pipe GTR and the normal stock sound. So those are extra goodies. They don't really add more power to the car, but those are fun additions just to make the car a little bit better. But the mods we talked about, $4,700, and you're gonna get up to 600 horsepower and be a freaking monster. With that said, there's another mod you could do. It gets you up to around $5,300. So it's a $600 upgrade, which is a flex fuel system. This I was on the fence with over the years until so many people commented saying, once you go flex fuel, you'll never go back. So flex fuel basically gives me the ability to run this car on E85 or 93 octane. It is this piece right in the back. That's the flex fuel sensor connected to the stock fuel system, going through these hoses and then into the programmer system that is plugged into the battery, and then to the Cobb tuner. So it's all, of course, dialed in with the tune of the car. But I can just fill it up with 93. If it's at a half tank, put some E85 in it. Doesn't matter how I mix it. I can have anywhere from 10% to 85% ethanol content, and the car is adjusted. We've done tuning with this on 85% all the way down to normal gas, and anything in between, the car automatically knows and can make the correct power and correct air fuel ratios. And with the full highest percentage of ethanol, the car gets up to closer to 650 to the wheels. That's around 700 horsepower at the crank. And this car, when I'm at a high percentage of ethanol, is insane. It can burn the tires even in third gear. It literally rips. It's so much fun to drive it when it's on a high percentage. And the flex fuel gives me the flexibility to, of course, fill it up with whatever I want. I don't always have to go full E85, which is nice. Of course, it's not the best gas to run in your car. It's a little corrosive. So as long as you don't run it every single tank, day after day, week after week, you shouldn't have any issues with it melting any plastics inside the fuel lines. But that setup is absolutely nuts. A little bit over the $5,000 budget, but I think it is worth it. and especially for a car like this, around $5,000, you can get some crazy power. So with all that said, how much does it cost to modify a GTR? How do you get power out of it without going broke? Those modifications, you're under $5,000, you're making $600 to the wheels, and your GTR will truly open up and be something astonishingly quick and way better than the stock car. It's really not that crazy to modify the car. So then if you go from there, of course, and add the flex fuel, stuff like that, it's still not that expensive. And if you do add the rest of the exhaust, intercooler pipes, upgraded blow-off valves, yeah, you're pushing $7,000, $8,000. It's not necessarily worth it depending on what your goals are for the car. However, it of course makes the car a little bit better, but you don't have to go crazy modifying the car and spending $1 million. With that said, at my current level, if I do anything more, now is when I get to crazy money. If I do bigger turbos, that's probably like a $10,000 build. The engine has to come out to install them, which is of course a huge labor bill. After that, you got to build the transmission, probably build the differentials and axles and things like that to actually manage that power and not blow up. And then you're talking about a $60,000 build or something ridiculous to make 1,000 horsepower. I don't think it's worth it. You're never going to use that power on the road. I just don't see the point. Even with my car now, I still will hit 120 on an on-ramp. It's so fast, you know, you can't use it all on the road. So to me, I think this is the sweet spot. This is not that expensive of a build. And even if I toned it down without the muffler section, without the intercooler and stuff like that, it's still going to perform pretty much the same. So that about wraps it up for today's video. How do you modify a GTR for good money? That's how you do it. Those mods right there, I'll have quite a few of them linked down below. They will open up your GTR, you'll love it, and you won't be broke. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.